up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment here, and I wanted to run through our NBA playoff bracket now that we have an official locked-in playoffs. They actually start tomorrow. I didn't realize that, otherwise I would have got this video out a little sooner. But either way, it's not till like 7 p.m. tomorrow, so we'll have some time. Yeah, so we did really good. If you check back, the playoff video I did at like the beginning of the year, I'm pretty sure in the East we got all 10. I don't think we missed any of them because Hornets, Nets, Sixers, Wizards, and Raptors are just the 5 teams. They're just so boring. They have nothing going for them, and they're in a complete rebuild mode. And I brought this up every year. This channel's been around for like 3 years. It's pretty crazy. But every year we've done basketball, I've brought up the Hawks and the Bulls. They're just perennial play-in teams. I think they just bring a little bit of excitement. Maybe the prospect of maybe like a Trae Young getting out of the first round and the Hawks maybe getting an upset, something like that. The Bulls, same kind of deal. The Heat really don't have anything going for them now, I don't think, or the Magic. I just don't think they're draws. Florida's not the greatest basketball state anyway. But either way, the Heat obviously are usually pretty hot, but I don't see much happening here. And then the West. So anyway, so yeah, we did perfect in the East. In the West, I did have the Suns making it in instead of the Kings. I don't see much with the Kings, and they just traded Fox. So I mean, they really are obviously not going to be moving forward. But they must be a pretty good draw because they do pretty well. The last couple of years, they've been at least better than a lot of other teams, and I thought with Kevin Durant, the Suns would have been a big draw this year, but it was the one we got wrong. I did have Dallas still making the playoffs, just because I thought the prospect was interesting, although looking at what would have to happen for them to match up the Lakers, I don't think it's going to get that far. I don't see Dallas going too far, just because they have too many hurt players, and again, I don't think they're a draw. What makes sense is they just get booted right away because the whole fan base wants Nico fired, the guy who traded Luka away, obviously. So them just getting unceremoniously dropped out of the playoffs, they fire Nico just to appease the fans, if nothing else, and maybe get some things going for next year. As you probably know with me, I'm always going to go Warriors here. I'm taking them over the Grizzlies. And it's for matchup purposes, but also because I do think the Warriors are going to make a semi-run. I think it might be the last time we have Steph, LeBron, all these guys in the playoffs together, which is why I thought Kevin Durant was going to get in. They kept showing all these clips of the older guys that are like, near their 40s or in their 40s. And, there's LeBron, Steph, and obviously KD. And just kind of the numbers they're putting up this year. So I thought the Suns were going to get in, kind of like one last hoorah for these guys. But they got most of them. I mean, we got Westbrook in there, you got Harden in the playoffs. So you can't get them all in. But I think the Warriors, they think they beat the Grizzlies. I don't think the Grizzlies are going to do anything too crazy. I'll go with the Kings as well. And then for these two, between the Bulls and the Heat, I slightly like the Bulls. I'm not a giddy. I think, Giddy, and I haven't looked too much into the stuff, but it does look like the guy definitely did some creepy things. Obviously shit involving people that aren't of age and stuff like that, and obviously I think they're still investigating it, but it's just weird. But I do leave it to ESPN and Disney to push a pedophile, so they seem to be really riding with him for the Bulls, and even if it's because people don't like the guy, it's almost like the any publicity is good publicity type of deal. I feel like the Bulls are a bigger draw than the Heat. Giddy's a bigger draw, even if most people want to watch the clown on him, which he should be clowned on. I think just because they have Giddy, and they've been looking a little more hungry, I would say, the Bulls this year, whereas the Heat look like they just shut it down. They're ready to, go to Cancun, whatever. So I got the Hawks here, and I got the Bulls. I think the Hawks have a little more fire than the Magic, just because. And the loser of this game, I'm pretty sure, the 7-8 seeds, they don't get eliminated anyway. But I just think the Hawks will win this game. Trae Young probably has a really good, strong performance, and maybe a few people will buy the Hawks to actually go pretty far. So with that play, and that leaves Sacramento, Memphis, and Chicago, Orlando. And like I said, I have Chicago here simply because, again, I think Giddey's more of a draw than Paolo Banchero or anybody on the Magic. I think the Bulls have a little bit of a stronger fan base. So I just think the Bulls equal a little more ratings than the Magic. And then just because Ja Morant, I'm going with Memphis. They got rid of their coach, and a lot of times that's like when a team's ready to shut down for the year. So the fact that the Grizzlies fired their coach and they're in the playoffs, I have a feeling they might sneak past Sacramento, maybe sneak out of the first round and make, again, a semi-run. And we can see Ja just go crazy. I don't think we're going to have, and because this is the play-in, not really the playoffs, I don't think we're going to have a playoffs without Ja Morant this year. So we move on, and this is what this gives us. It gives us Memphis versus Oklahoma City, and it gives us the Clippers versus the Nuggets in the West, with Lakers, Wolves, and we got Warriors, Rockets. Warriors, Rockets will be an interesting one. I think there's a lot of history, and the thing is, the Rockets, obviously a much different team this year, so kind of like the young versus the old. The Warriors are the grizzled veterans, and the Rockets are the young, hungry team. So, Thunder, Grizzlies, SGA versus Ja is going to be great to watch. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies were to upset the Thunder. That being said, I do think the Thunder are going to move on. They're just too strong this year. SGA probably going to win MVP, and obviously the fans are going to be, I think in any non-scripted league, Joker wins MVP. But I think a lot of fans are going to be upset that Joker didn't win MVP. So you have to have SGA look pretty good in the playoffs, even though the MVP is about the regular season, not the playoffs. I feel like the better SGA looks in the playoffs, then fans might be like, all right, he deserved it. They're the 1 seed. They rolled, they got through Memphis, etc. So I think SGA has a really strong playoff performance, specifically the first round. I think Ja and him are going to, I think this is the matchup we're going to get, and they're going to have a pretty entertaining matchup. So I got the Thunder in 6, and I like the Nuggets here. This one I feel like is one like where the home team's probably going to win almost every game. Clippers, again, they got Harden, and they got, I think George is hurt. Or, did he get traded? I don't even remember. Paul George, I can't even keep track with the guy. But obviously Kawhi, they got a good squad. I just don't think anyone's buying them to go to the championship. I believe that in them way more last year than I do this year. I'll go ahead and say the Nuggets take this one in 7. I think the Nuggets are going to definitely advance just because they're a powerhouse in the West and they're consistent. So I just don't think they're going to get bumped in the first round. It could happen, but I think the Clippers nowhere near as big a draw as Joker, so I got the Nuggets here. And then we got Minnesota Lakers, and obviously, if you know who I picked at the beginning of the year, then you should probably know who I got here. I do like the Lakers. I'm wondering if a team comes back from 3-1. But I'll go ahead and take the Lakers in 6 here. I think they look pretty good. And it's going to be, I think, the story of you got LeBron and Luka versus Ant by himself. And then they'll talk about getting another, even though they have a pretty stacked squad, another megastar for the Timberwolves, I feel like. So, got the Lakers advancing. And finally, in the West, we got Golden State and Houston. And I would normally give Houston more of a chance. The reason I like Golden State is because the Thunder are a very young and hungry team. So I feel like you usually don't get a bunch of them. You usually get just one. Maybe you might get a couple, but I don't think two of the 4 teams are going to be like the 2 youngest teams in the NBA. I think we're going to have mostly the veterans, the top players, Steph, obviously, Luka, LeBron. So I do think the Thunder move on, and that's not really an upset, but they'll be the young, hungry team. And I think the Warriors win. I could see them going down 0-2, and let's say I think the Warriors actually go down 3-1 and come back and beat the Rockets. That'd be interesting. So we're done with the West. Move on to the East. Uh, this is gonna be my first sweep. I think they want Cleveland to look really strong, just because they're a 1 seed. I don't think too many people are bought into them, even with Mitchell's playing good, Mobley's playing good. They got a good squad. I just think you compare them to some of these other teams, and it's not that close. Now, these next two are actually pretty tough for me because a lot of matchups would be very entertaining. You know, if you get the Pistons, Bucks, that would be entertaining. And Knicks versus either of these teams would be very entertaining. And the Knicks have obviously looked really good, as have the Pistons. So for this one, first we got Milwaukee. And again, Giannis and a few players on the Bucks. See, and I like the Pacers a lot. Last year, I thought they were going to possibly make a run to the Eastern Championship. And I don't remember if they did. I know the Celtics, obviously, that's who we had winning the whole thing. But I don't know if they knocked off the Pacers. I'm trying to think. But either way, I do think the Bucks are going to take this one. Just because, again, I think Giannis is going to look good. I mean, we haven't really gotten... I think there's a lot of stories with had Doc having been there and all that stuff. Just Doc Rivers everywhere he goes is a story. And probably his last hurrah. So I have a good feeling the Bucks are going to at least get past the Pacers. I think in a year or two, the Pacers are going to start making some runs. The league loves Halliburton. But we'll go... Pacers go up 2-1. And then we'll give the Bucks the next three. Again, I don't know exactly if these... You know, you never know which ones are going to go 7, which ones are going to go 5, 6. It just kind of, for the most part, I think most of these will go about 6 games. We'll get a couple sweeps, and we'll probably get, of obviously, 1 or 2 that goes 7. If there's ever a 7-game series, I feel like it's Detroit Knicks. It just seems like a old school, gritty kind of game. Kind of, I don't know, reminds me of like 90s, these two teams. And they're even talking about bringing back the bad boy Pistons, which obviously was like the 80s, 90s Pistons, where I think more 90s, but, you know, just that gritty, very defense-oriented type of team. We're probably going to see a lot of fights with these guys. And I think it goes 7. And, again, the Knicks are a very strong team. So them moving on makes a lot of sense. I get it. But I actually think the Pistons, just because of how bad of a year they had last year, and how much they do love Cade, I think it's going to be the Pistons that wind up. They'll take Game 7 in the Garden. That's going to be my guess. I think the Pistons move on, and obviously this one. Again, I think maybe I didn't. I think last time these two played in the playoffs, I think they took it to like 6 games. Trae Young had a couple pretty good games. So I think we might get the same thing. I think Atlanta might force 6, but that would be the most. I got Boston moving on pretty seamlessly here. So that gives us Nuggets Thunder, which again is a great matchup because now we can argue Jokic versus SGA, who should have won MVP. And then we got Lakers and Warriors. And a lot of these, I feel like I try and look at both matchups because I feel like Nuggets Lakers might be like we've seen this match a lot of times already, so I don't know if they're going to give it to us again. So that all being said, I think the Thunder continue to look strong. I think the Nuggets will be fine. I think the Nuggets might push it to 6 or 7, but I don't think they're going to win. I'm going to go with the Thunder in 6 here. I think they move on to the Western Conference Finals, where they will play the Lakers. And again, we have a great matchup here. We have obviously Jimmy Butler now with the Warriors and Steph up against LeBron and Luka, so a really good matchup there. But I think Lakers will take this, and I think this will be 7. I think it's going to go 7. Again, it might be the last time we see like a long series between, or a playoff series at all between. It probably will be the last LeBron versus Steph matchup. We've seen a ton of them. You can argue it's the biggest rivalry of this decade, you know, or this generation almost, LeBron and Steph. So He's played him with like 3 different teams. So yeah, I think the Lakers Warriors go 7, and I think it's gonna be the Lakers that wind up taking it. So we move on to the East. We get the Bucks, Cavs, and I guess we can consider this an upset. I think the Bucks are gonna move on. So something like I think it'll probably go 6 or 7 too. I think a lot of these, once we get to the conference finals, I don't think there's going to be a sweep. I mean, we might get one, but I'm not too. I think they want ratings, so something like this, and then we'll give the Bucks the next 2, making them move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where I think, of course, again, if you watched any of my prior videos, I like Boston a lot. I think Boston repeats and goes back to the championship. So, again, I think this one could definitely be a 7-game series, and actually, I think it very well might be. It'd be a great story for the Pistons to push Boston to 7 games, something like this. And now we are to the conference finals, and we got Lakers Thunder again, young versus old, and we got Milwaukee versus Boston, which is great because it's Doc versus his former team that he won with. And who did he win with? He beat the Lakers, right? I think the Lakers beat him, actually, but I think he also beat the Lakers. Either way, he has that rivalry against the Lakers. And obviously, Boston, Los Angeles are the 2 most storied franchises, tied at 17 championships apiece until Boston just got their 18th last year. And that's why I think Boston gets back there, as well as I think the Lakers get there. Lakers go to tie the record and get to 18. And again, 17 comes up a lot, doesn't it? That's what over in wrestling John Cena is going for. I am going to probably do a WrestleMania video because there are betting odds, and I think some matches have really good value. Like there's a couple plus odds that I really think are going to win. So that'll be interesting. So I'll probably drop that in the next day or 2 because I'm actually going out there Thursday. So that way, when I'm out there, I could always do the video, but I'll probably be a little busy. So I'll probably do that for the wrestling fans. And even if you're not a wrestling fan, if you just like betting, I think I have a pretty good read on this year's WrestleMania. So anyway, we got Lakers Thunder, and again, it comes down to how many games is it going to go. And again, I think the Lakers are going to look pretty consistent. We might see a couple hiccups with Luka and LeBron on the same team. But the Thunder getting here again, they give me Lions vibes. They really do. They have for a while now. And the Lions, again, a team that looked better this year in the NFL. They had a better year, but they didn't make it any further. Well, they didn't get past the NFC Championship. So I feel like we're going to kind of see the same thing with the Thunder here, where they had a stronger year, but they're still not going to quite get there. And again, I don't see any of these games going 5. I think they're all going to go 6 and 7. So we'll go something like this. And then we'll go Lakers. Finish it off at home. And then Boston, Milwaukee. I could see this one going 7. I think we're going to, and I think we have Drew Holiday against his former team too, right? So it's a couple interesting dynamics here. Doc, the coach, versus his former team. Drew Holiday playing the team that he won a championship with. And then he just won one with Boston. So I think he'll be a pretty big difference. I think Giannis, Dame, they look really good, obviously. But I do think Boston's going to wind up getting it done. And I'll give them in 7 games. I think it'll be a 7-game series. So now we're on to the finals, and this is our preseason pick. So we'll see how good it ages. We did really good last year with our NBA preseason pick, so I have good faith this year. And we had Boston winning last year. The reason I like this a lot is I think when LeBron and Bronny, his son, obviously being on the same team as him, win, they'll be the first father-son combo to ever win a championship together. Unless we're counting wrestling, where it did happen a couple years ago with a couple California guys, Rey Mysterio and his son, winning the tag team championship. Again, it is all classified as sports entertainment. but it would be the first time in, the major sports, football, basketball, baseball, where a father-son won a championship. And it's interesting because Luka played Boston last year. He was just with another team. So it's almost giving me LeBron vibes, where LeBron played the same team with another team. And LeBron's essentially passing the torch to Luka. I said this, immediately when people were saying, Ant's the next, face of the league, and this guy is, and that guy is. Luka has too much charisma. You could just tell by the way they're pushing the guy. He's the next face of the league. It's going to be Luka. He's the next LeBron. Again, you don't have to look like LeBron to be the face. It's going to be whoever's the most marketable. And just look at this year. The Mavericks fans are booing their own team because they miss Luka so much. In my opinion, he's the face of the league. So I think he gets his first championship. Adds to the legacy. This feels like a 7-game series, but I'm actually going to go 6 games on it for some reason. I think we'll get a lot of 7-game series in the playoffs, but I think this finals, we haven't had a finals go to 7 in a while. We're going to go 7 just because I think it's been a few years since we've had a finals that went to 7. The last couple have been pretty one-sided. Like the Nuggets beat the Heat in a pretty one-sided fashion. The Celtics beat the Mavs in a pretty one-sided fashion. And before that, the Warriors beat the Celtics in a pretty one-sided fashion. So I think this one's going to be much closer. So I'm going to give it 7 games. Maybe Boston gets ahead. I could see this happening, actually. Yeah, I think Boston gets ahead. This would give us too many road teams. It would be kind of crazy. Like too many road wins, but I don't care. I think it's going 7. I have a feeling the Lakers might drop to like 3-1 or 1-3, and then make a nice little comeback. Maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but I do think this is what we get as far as the result. Whether it goes 7 and the Lakers come back from a couple games down, not positive, but it's a nicer story, and it would kind of show LeBron and Luka's clutchness. So yeah, that's what I think we get here. I think we get Lakers beat the Celtics. Luka gets some redemption. And again, LeBron, another big reason I like the Lakers is because I really think LeBron is going to finish with more championships than Steph. I just think he's the NBA wants him to be remembered as closer to Jordan's league. They don't want to put him in Jordan's league, but I don't think they want him in Curry's league either. So a win here makes him decisively better than Steph, in my opinion. Any objective, again, if we're looking at this like it's real, LeBron's just done more. And if he gets the 5th ring, then I think, and knocks Golden State off on the way, then I think it's not much of an argument. So yeah, also interesting because the whole 17 thing keeps coming up. Cena's from Boston, and then he went Hollywood, if you will. So it's kind of interesting, Boston to, Hollywood. I swear there's so many parallels with wrestling and other sports. I know it sounds crazy, but I see it all the time. Where, again, if you just look at the last several, this is football mostly, but last several Super Bowls, because, they take place on a neutral ground. The WrestleMania has either been there, like in the same stadium, the year before or the year after. Like WrestleMania is in Vegas this year. I think it was last year. Super Bowl was in Vegas. Next year, Super Bowl's in Los Angeles, and next year's WrestleMania's, or not Los Angeles, Louisiana, I'm sorry. That's where next year's WrestleMania is. Like, they just follow each other around. When the Bucks won in Tampa, WrestleMania was there. When the Rams won in California, the WrestleMania was there. It's really interesting. So there's some kind of tie-in between wrestling and these other sports. I've noticed it because I watch them. I watch wrestling, so I kind of notice a lot of these similarities. But yeah, this is what I think we get. Lakers beat Celtics. LeBron gets they say some championships are heavier than others, essentially meaning if it's a harder path to win, it's a heavier, championship. It counts for more. So I think he gets a pretty heavy championship here, and he's like 40 years old. So it'll add to the legacy. And then we might get more LeBron versus Jordan comparisons. All of the talking heads on, ESPN and such, they don't really seem to want to compare Jordan and LeBron, it's basically Jordan's the best. But either way, it'll strengthen LeBron's argument for if he's the best Laker, all these different things. Which, again, I don't think he's the best Laker either. I think Kobe did more for the Lakers than LeBron. But still, it'll be a lot of stories because, again, in the offseason, that's all they want to do is talk about LeBron, talk about the main guys. And in this case, it's LeBron and Luka. So, yeah, I think LeBron and Bronny win a championship together. And Luka obviously gets some revenge against the Celtics. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty entertaining path. You have a lot of rivalries, a lot of callbacks and things of that nature. And most of the games I think are going to be pretty entertaining. So that's what I think happens. I think we're going to get a lot more fake fights. I brought this up. Another thing I noticed as a wrestling fan, these NBA guys didn't have one fight all year. Then the hockey fights started happening when they had the 3 fights in the 9 seconds when they were doing the Hockey World Cup or whatever. And then every night since then, almost every night, there's been an ejection, a fight, something in the NBA. And it was right after all the fans were saying that these NBA guys are soft. So again, it's not a coincidence. They just realized the ratings are down, and to get the ratings back, they have to bring back why people like basketball, and it's because people want to watch competitiveness and physicality. So you're seeing that now. It's just so fake. These fights are ridiculous. No punches actually ever land. They tackle each other and they're not doing anything. They start fighting for no reason. It's really obvious, so fake and scripted. And again, people used to ask me, and they still do, essentially, things that I'll notice. I noticed it in football with a lot of fake injuries. And it's because when you watch wrestling, the wrestlers actually know what they're doing. So when you see them pretending to fight, it looks pretty darn real because they practice it. These athletes, these NBA guys, NFL guys, they don't practice it. So when they're trying to sell something, like they're fighting another guy or they're arguing, it just comes off so obviously fake. But anyway, I just think we're going to get a lot of fake fights. But yeah, I got Lakers in 7 over Boston, and that's essentially it. Like I said, I'll probably be doing a WrestleMania video for those who want to, maybe put some action on some of the matches. I'll be out there for it, so it'll be fun. So I'll just be playing a couple. I'll go to a local book, and if they let me parlay, that'd be great. But I don't think wrestling lets you. But every time I try online, it doesn't let me. So I doubt you'll be able to parlay. But there's a lot of at least 3 or 4 plus odds matches that I think I'm pretty certain. I think I know who's going to win them. So I'll definitely get that video out because if nothing else, you can make a few bucks. So take care and happy earnings.